Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're talking about what if Belle was overpowered as hell. So, in the last video we talked about after being captured by some of the adventures of, Arario, he would wake up in the guild being rested by, being told to get some rest. But he would decide to escape as several adventurers would try to recapture him. While he's basically running away from the guild to basically go back to his, little home in the dungeon, he would be interrupted by Tione, as Tione would try and fight him to basically bring him back to the guild. But during the fight, Belle would be interrupted as he would meet up with the ship of this story. In this case, a girl by the name of Rio, a elf. She would basically defeat Belle, even though this what if's about what if Belle was overpowered as hell, but still, it's gonna be a story reason for that, let's just say that, okay? So, yeah. After Belle was defeated by her and also submitted to her, to her will, Belle would be kind of hurt and also quite tired during the fight. So, because of this, he would have to, forced to, do a piggyback ride because of her. So, Ryu basically, lets, Belle basically ride on her back, as everybody would just be like, how in the hell did she defeat him? Like, how? So, yeah. So, because of this, Belle would be brought back to his little room in the, guild, as he was given, mana suppressing, chains, which suppress his, mana, and also suppresses his abilities, including his strength. So, Belle would be forced to stay there, as he was told, or more specifically told by a girl by the name of, by a half-elf by the name of Aina, that he's going to be learning how to speak, and also write, and also, do the basic things that a normal-ass person does. I mean, technically, all of them are not really normal, but still. So yeah, he's gonna be forced to, learn how to speak and also read. So yeah, after Aina was told of this by, Ryu would decide to leave, as Aina is gonna be, teaching him how to speak and also read. So yeah, so Belle is basically pretty much tired at this point, so he would decide to learn and also, do the things like that. But unfortunately, he's quite tired, so he decided to get some sleep. So, yeah. So, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, a few months have gone by as Belle now learns how to read and also, write. He also learns how to, how to speak the actual language of this world, and is now, somewhat able to do it. I mean, it's kind of like a broken English thing, similar to, like, Razor from Genshin Impact, a bit of a hint for the, next series that I'm probably gonna make if you vote on it. But, well, if you don't know who's Razor, well, Razor's from Genshin Impact. So, yeah. So, Belle knows how to read, write, and also speak. And also learns about the world, and also learns how to become an adventurer. So, Belle would also apply pretty early, during his time with, Aina, and also, some adventurers. Like, some adventurers would basically go and visit him to basically talk to him, and also learn from them. Like, for example, how to fight, and a certain girl, aka a certain goddess by the name of a certain, goddess by the name of Feistus would, go there and basically ask him, how the hell did he get that armor, as he would basically explain that he borrowed, quote unquote, borrowed from, some of the adventurers that decided to try and kill him. So, yeah, so she would just let him, keep it, but decided to, upgrade his armor by, increasing the defense of it, and also giving it a magic resistance. And also, when she asked to, maybe even fix the broadsword, Belle would basically tell her that he would gladly just, keep it that way. Because it's better to just use the sharp, almost like magical end of the sword instead of like a normal end of the sword. So, Yeah, she would be told to not, fix it. And also, Belle would be visited by some of the members of the Loki Familia, like for example, Bet. Bet and him somehow have a kind of good relationship. In fact, they're kind of like brother to they're kind of like brothers at this point. And for Finn, actually they're kind of cool now. Not only that, well, these sort of became, best friends. And let's just say, oh boy, after, a while of basically talking to them, he would meet up with Loki. Loki would explain that she would basically, let him live in, in her mansion, but he's going to be joining the Loki Familia. So, he would also learn about familias and goddesses of that, at that point, because, thanks to, Aina teaching him about this world, and so he would decide to, join them. So, after Belle was told of this, and also told them about, maybe joining, the Loki Familia, so, yeah, Loki would basically tell, Belle that maybe in I don't know, in 5 months, that he's going to be, the time that he's going to meet to at least train. And then after the 5 months, he would be joining the Loki Familia. So, yeah. So, after Loki leaves, Belle would start training once again. So, Belle would be training for a while now, as everybody would finally know who Belle is, aka, his original name, aka Skullface. Many people, mostly from around the, parts of Rario, would basically try and challenge him, including some members of the Apollo Familia. And let's just say, oh boy, let's just say their egos were about the size of, of a freaking mountain back when they didn't met, back when they didn't met Belle. But now, their egos were about the size of a freaking ant. An ant's leg. So, yeah. So, let's just say, when they fought Belle, mostly all of them, including what is his face, especially a certain guy by the name of Hyacinthus, after trying to fight him and believing that he's stronger than him, well, let's just say both of his legs, disappeared. Let's just say that, and also some of their weapons. Take a guess who stole it. Starts looking at Belle. Belle just starts carrying all of their shit. Just everybody starts chasing him. Just imagine him just doing that. So yeah. So because of this, let's just say some familias don't really want to mess with him. And so, after the few months were up, Belle would start packing all of his things to finally go to the Loki Familia household. So, after getting his stuff, he would hear the sound of knocking on his, door. As he would say this, come in. As he would basically see that this person was Bet. As he would say this, hey, Belle, let's go. As Belle would say this, I'm coming. As he would basically start to, grab all of his stuff, as he would start to leave the, home that he basically lived in for maybe a few months now. Actually, let's just change that. Let's just say a year, and he's now 16. So, yeah. So, Belle is now 16 as he would start to move out of the, I guess you could say, dorms? Actually, let's just say, living quarters for, for some members of the, guild, in case if they don't have a house or something like that. So, he would start to leave with pets as the rest of the Loki Familia, mostly members for example, Eyes, which he never met Eyes before, so when Eyes saw him, she would say, so, you must be Skullface. As he would say this, just call me Belle. Don't call me by that name anymore. As she would say this, okay then. So, after they basically had a bit of an exchange with each other, and also meeting up with a girl by the name of Leafia, Leafia would get acquainted with him, and she would basically ask this question. So, are you, attracted to Miss... Wait for a second. Are you attracted to Miss Eyes? As Belle would just look at her, as he would say, no, I like somebody else. As she would say this to herself. Oh, thank God. Wait, who's this person exactly? She would basically ask, as Belle would say this. There's no way I'm not telling you. As he would basically grab his sword and basically just like sheaths it in, like behind him. Like the sheath of the blade is basically right on his back. So he would basically put his sword on his back as he would start to leave with the rest of the guys, as she would say this. She would basically start to pout a little bit as she would start to, follow them. So, Belle would finally arrive at the Loki Familia household as he would see that the place is pretty big. As Belle would say this, whoa, this place is quite bigger than the guild. As she would say this, specifically Eyes. Yeah, it makes sense. After all, we're one of the most strongest familias in the entire world right now. As Beth would say this, yeah, and it's not even a joke. As Belle would say this, I see. As Belle would start to move in, as he would see the rest of the Loki Familia members. So, they would start to introduce themselves to him, as he would recognize one of them. Specifically two. And two of them were Tione and Tiona. So, when Belle saw them, he would start, look away because, after, getting defeated by them, let's just say he was a bit, angry at himself. And also being defeated by a certain girl, aka, Rui, or at least I think that's her. I meant Ryu, for God's sakes. As Ryu would basically, sneeze in the, let's go back to Ryu right now. So, Ryu would just sneeze as she would say, is somebody talking to me? As one of her co-workers would say this, hey, Ryu, we got another order. As she would say, oh, yeah, don't worry, I'm going there right now. So, she would start to leave. Let's go back to Izuku. So, Izuku would be back, we'll be going back to, Izuku. Wait for a second. What the I meant Belle, for God's sakes. God damn it. I meant Belle, for God's sake. So, Belle would basically just see both of them as he would still remember being defeated by them and also being just being humiliated by, Ryu. As he would basically start to look away. As Tione would basically recognize him as he would say this. I meant she. Wait, is that Belle? Belle! As she would basically start to approach him, as Belle would say this. Great, it's her. As, well, Tiona would say this. So you're finally here. As Tiona would say this. So, hello there, Belle. At least I think that's your name. As Belle would say this. You are correct, and I still can't believe I got defeated by you. As both of them would say this. Why is that? Are you still a bit salty about that? As Belle would say this. No, I'm quite peachy. As he would start to feel a bit angry. As one of them would say this. Specifically, Finn. As Finn would say this. So, Belle, are you still pretty much angry at them for basically defeating you that one time? As he would say this. Yeah, I've been living my whole life in the dungeon. I mean, I literally fought through several monsters and then I suddenly get defeated by them. I mean, it probably makes sense after all. They're probably even more experienced than me, but still. As he would basically start to become a little bit angry. As one of them would basically start to calm him down. Specifically, Leafia, she would say, can you please calm down? As you would say this. Alright, I'll just calm down. Anyway, so where's Loki? As one of them would say this. Specifically a random member. Now that you mention it, we didn't see Loki in a long time right now. We mostly see her in her, office, but right now we didn't see her. As not Izuku, I meant Belle, goddammit. So, Belle would just say this. Wait a minute. As he would start to remember some of the stories that Beth would always tell him about, tell about him. Mostly the ones about Loki being super drunk, and also sometimes being a rage-fueled idiot sometimes trying to get, Soma wine. As Belle would say this, I think she's probably drunk somewhere. As one of them would say this, a random member. I think you're right, as they would start to hear the sound of a crazy woman basically outside. As Belle would just say this. I think that is as they would see, like, the doors basically opening, as they would see a drunk Loki basically just like, how do we say this? They would see Loki just like grab, like, she seems to be wearing some sort of like, underwear. More specifically, girls' underwear on her head, and seem to be grabbing like several, pieces of, let's just say, special clothing for women. She's basically, holding them in her hands, as all of the girls and some of the guys would just basically say, what are you doing, Loki? She would say this, I just had a bit of fun. She would just like start chugging like, she would start chugging like a whole bottle of like Soma wine, as Belle would just like look at everybody, as he would say, is that really Loki? As they would say, unfortunately, yes. As Belle would start looking at her, as she would say, hmm? As she would start to look, as she would recognize Belle, as she would say this, oh, there you are, Belle. As Belle would just like, sigh, as you would say, God. Anyway, where's my room? As one of them, specifically a girl, a random like Familia member would say this. Oh, it's right over there, down the hall upstairs. As Belle would say this. Thank you. So, he would start to grab all of his bags, thanks to the help of, his ability to basically, use the other abilities of like monsters. Basically, you basically get it. So, he would start to make several arms that resemble, skeleton arms, as he would basically grab all of his stuff. So, he would start to go upstairs as he would try to find his, living quarters. After arriving at a little door, he would see a plaque saying, Belle Cornell, in bold, golden letters, as Belle would just like sigh to himself saying, am I really that popular? As he would basically open the door, as he would see a pretty nice bed, and some simple furniture basically just like aligning the place. There's even a table and two chairs basically like, right near to a window with a nice view of the entire, city, aka Orario. So, he would start putting his stuff down, including his, bag, as he would start to, take off his, large, metal boots, as he would go onto the bed, as he says this. Ah, much better. It feels soft. He would basically start, lay down, as he would hear a knock on his door, as he would say this, come in, as he would see a random Loki Familia member, as he would say this, Belle, as Belle would say this, yeah, I'm just pretty much resting, as he would say this, well, we need help, Loki is currently, as he would hear the sound of, well, he would see, or at least, hear the sound of, like, bottles basically falling from the sky. As Belle would say this, what the hell is going on right now? As he would say this, look for yourself. So, he would basically go outside, as you would see Loki on top of the roof, basically drunk as all hell, and it's still freaking day. She's basically still wearing the, the girl's underwear basically on her, face, as she's basically just like, playing with all of the, girl's underwear in her, fingers, basically just like playing with them. As Fel would just like sigh as he would say this. Can anybody suppress her at least? As one of them would say this. We can't. It's a bit, annoying to deal with. As Belle would say this. Guess I'll do it myself. As Belle would basically start to, wait for a second. So, after Belle said that, Belle would start to manifest large wings resembling a large bat. he would gain 4 wings as he would start to, fly all the way to the roof as he would start to grab, Loki. Loki would start screaming and kicking at him as Belle would accidentally get kicked right in the royal jewels, if you get what I mean. Belle would basically drop her as she was falling from the sky. Belle would basically just like compose himself as he would start to, go over there and basically catch her. After catching her, he would basically bring her back down as Belle would say this. Can anyone at least make her, not drunk? Maybe give her some water at least. As one of them would say this, on it, as a random Loki Familia member, and Bet would start to, move towards, the sink, as he would start to grab some water and start, pushing it into, Loki's mouth to make her, less drunk. As Belle would just like, what the fuck is going on? As he would basically just like, sigh to himself saying, is this really the Loki Familia household or am I in another universe? He would basically said that to himself as Belle would basically drop down to the floor as Belle would basically start, retract his wings. As one of them would say this, so what are we supposed to do now? As Belle would say this, I'll be getting some rest. I'm pretty tired from that little trip of ours. As one of them would say this, yeah, maybe we can maybe even celebrate. After all, we have a new member after all. And not only that, he's quite overpowered. As all of them would basically agree. As Belle would say this, anyway, see ya. So, he would basically start to move back to his, to his room as he would fall asleep. A few hours later, he would basically wake up as he would start, change his clothes to some simple ones. He would start to wear similar clothing to... He would start to wear a black turtleneck, and with long sleeves, he would also wear black, I guess you could say like, a black tunic, and also wearing just like, simple black boots. So, after coming down from the stairs, he would see that everybody's basically getting ready for, a large dinner. So, Belle would just see everybody there as one of them, specifically Bet, would say this, hey, Belle. As Belle would say this, oh, hey, Bet. As Bet would say this, you want to go over there? To the hostess of fertility. As Belle would say this, you mean, Ryu's job, or at least his, her, wait for the tavern where Ryo basically goes to and basically works, as he would say this. Yep, I want to bring you there. I mean, you need to drink some alcohol for God's sakes. I mean, I didn't even really see you drink some alcohol, so why the hell not? As Belle would say this, sure. As one of them would basically start to, leave. Basically leaving them to basically eat dinner all by themselves, mostly, the rest of the members. As, while they're basically going outside, they would see a few other, people. Specifically, Rivia and also Finn. As Finn would say this, come on, let's go. As Belle would say this, we're going, or at least we're coming, and they would start to, leave. So, after a while of basically walking, they made it to the hostess of fertility. So, after they arrived, they would start to, go into the tavern, as they would basically, look around, finding a table for them to basically sit. So, after finding a table, they would basically order their, food. Belle would basically just ask for some, large ass, meat, mostly meat, and I mean mostly meat, and some, potatoes on the side. So, after getting it, he would start to, started eating, basically tasting all of the flavors, and also, seeing that, Rivia was basically serving them. Not Rivia, I meant, Rio, I meant. So, Rio would basically look over as she would say this. It's been a while, Belle. As he would say this. Oh, hey Rio. As he would basically still be a bit salty after being defeated by her. As she would say this. What? Are you still pretty much salty about that? As Belle would say this. I'm not salty, or anything like that. He would basically starts chucking a bit of food into his mouth. As Bet would say this. Yeah, I can't believe you actually got defeated by her. I mean, You're supposed to be the goddamn Skullface, as in the most scariest person imaginable, and you got defeated by her? As Belle would basically start to blush a little bit as he would say this. I was distracted for God's sakes, and at the time I was tired, okay? As Beth would say this. Anyway, so does anybody want to have a bit of a, story time? They would start to, started talking about their little adventures during their time basically before they met, Belle. Belle would be interested in one of them specifically about Bet. Apparently, Bet was basically fighting this large monster, and apparently the monster had no eye. Or more specifically, this monster was a minotaur which lost its eye during a fight. As Belle would remember one time that back when he was still in the dungeon, basically still Skullface, he would remember that he was fighting a Minotaur for the first time as he would basically rip off one of his eyes and basically, the Minotaur escaped. After eating the eye, it would gain the ability to, gain increased strength and not only that, gain the ability to create horns. As Belle would say this. So, did Bet actually defeated that Minotaur? Huh, didn't know that. As Bet would start, boasting that he was the one that defeated it, as he would remember that, Belle was talking to him that one time. So, let's go into a little flashback, shall we? So, during his time basically in the, guild, and basically still talking to Bet would say this. So, how did you got defeated by that Rio girl? As Belle would say this, well, at time, I got distracted. As he would say this, still working on your, way you're speaking? As he would say this, yes. As he would say this, so, do you like her by any chance? As he would say this, like her? What does mean? As he would say this, well, he would basically start to, grab a dictionary as he would explain. As Belle would start to become flustered a little bit, as he would say this, uh, I, I think I like her, but not in that way. He would basically start to explain, thinking that she's pretty powerful, so he just admires her, as he would say this. Really, eh? Maybe you do like her, but you're just probably not admitting it, as you'd say this. Admitting? What does admitting mean? He would basically start to explain even more, just like grabbing the dictionary once again, as Belle would just be in a blushing mesh. Belle would just be a blushing mesh at that point. He would start to blush even more, turning into, literally just turning complete red. So, yeah. So, after that little flashback, he would start to laugh a little bit, as he would basically ask Rio to, come here. So, after Rio basically arrives there, he would basically whisper in her ear about, Belle's, kind of crush on her. As after hearing this, she would start to look at Belle. As Belle would just look at her, as Belle would say this. What is it, Ryu? As she would basically just smile at him, as Belle would start to blush a little bit. As she would basically, blows a kiss at him, as Belle would just be a blushing mess. As Rivia would notice this, as she would say this. She would basically start to laugh a little bit, as she would say, so it seems that the cold-hearted, Skullface seems to have a crush. As one of them specifically, Finn, says this. Huh, didn't know that. As Belle would start to blush even more, as he'd say this. Shut up. He would basically start to, cover his face a little bit. As all three of them would start to laugh a little bit. So, after the, time in the, tavern, all of them would start to leave to go back to, their, to their little mansion, aka, the Loki Familia mansion. So, after they arrived back home, they would see that Loki is currently drunk once again. Yay! And currently, she was, currently in a fight with both, currently in a fight between, Tiona and also, Leafia. apparently one of them, specifically like a random Loki Familia member, was, a bit angry at the time and accidentally said that she was flat. So yeah, let's just say, oh boy, let's just say, Loki is getting ready to try and kill him. So yeah, so one of them specifically, Eyes is currently trying to trying to, hold her back from basically killing the guy. As Belle would basically just like, what the fuck is going on? As Tione would basically say this, oh, accidentally, saying that she's flat, and as Belle would say this, actually, I don't even want to know. As he would say this, I'm just gonna be getting some sleep. See ya, guys. As Tione would say this, I really wanted to see you, guy, at least you getting drunk a little bit. As Belle would say this, sorry, I'm just feeling a bit tired. Belle would still have, like, after Belle basically drank that ale, that, wait for a sec, that ale that, Rio basically gave to him, instead of getting drunk, he was a bit tired. So, after getting back to his, room, he would basically stumble down to his bed as he would basically fall asleep. So, yeah. So, Belle is finally gone to sleep so he can, at least get ready. Because apparently, he's going to be having his first day as an adventurer to go into the dungeon. So, yeah. So, this is going to be the end of this episode. So, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!